Everyone in the luxurious restaurant laughed when the manager yelled at the young, black waitress, but laughter turned into silence when he grabbed her arm and dragged her toward the bathroom. No one knew. Her husband was sitting just 3 tables away, watching everything. And when he stood up, the entire air in the room changed. Rain poured outside the golden glass walls of Crescent Looks, the most expensive restaurant in the city. Inside, laughter, crystal glasses, and piano music filled the air. But in the far corner, a young waitress named Amara stood frozen, her hands trembling as the tray slipped from her fingers and crashed to the marble floor. Wine splattered across the white shoes of Mr. Collins, the manager. His eyes burned. The entire room turned silent. "Do you have any idea how much that bottle costs?" he hissed, his voice sharp as broken glass. Amara lowered her eyes, her voice barely a whisper. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to." "Of course you didn't mean to." He cut her off, grabbing the back of her uniform roughly. "You people never do." Every guest heard it. "You people." A cruel smile spread across his face, the kind of smile that hides behind fake civility, but reeks of hate. Someone laughed softly in the background. Another whispered, "She's one of those waitresses from the South Side." Amara felt her throat close. Her heart pounded. She had promised her husband she'd keep her head down, that this job was temporary, just until their little daughter's surgery was paid for. But humiliation has a limit. And Mr. Collins crossed it when he grabbed her wrist and whispered, "You're done here. Come with me, we'll talk about your attitude in private." Before she could react, he yanked her toward the hallway, toward the staff bathroom. The guests looked away. No one moved. Not one person dared stop him. But what no one knew was a man sitting quietly in the farthest booth, wearing a black suit and gold watch, had already noticed. He stirred his coffee once, placed the cup down gently, and whispered to the man beside him, "Don't move yet." The man's name was Dante Morelli, Amara's husband. To the world, he was a ghost. To the underworld, he was the boss. And the moment his wife disappeared down that hallway, his calm smile vanished. The hallway was quiet, too quiet. The golden glow of the restaurant faded behind Amara as Mr. Collins pushed her through the narrow corridor toward the staff bathroom. Her wrist ached under his grip. "Sir, please," she pleaded, her voice breaking. "I said I'm sorry." "I'll pay for the wine." He spun around so suddenly that she almost fell. "Do you even know what kind of guests we have here tonight?" His voice dripped with arrogance. "Senators, CEOs, people who don't want to see a clumsy waitress ruining their evening." Amara swallowed hard, her eyes glistening. "Please let me go back. I'll clean it." "Not before we have a little chat?" he smirked. His breath reeked of whiskey. He shoved open the bathroom door and dragged her inside. The fluorescent light flickered weakly, buzzing like an angry fly. Amara's reflection trembled in the cracked mirror. Her face was pale, tears forming at the edges of her eyes. She stepped back, clutching her apron. "Please, I just need this job. My daughter's in the hospital." Mr. Collins laughed bitterly. "Oh, I've heard that story before. You girls always have some sob story, don't you?" He leaned closer, cornering her against the sink. "But if you really want to keep your job, maybe there's another way to make it up to me." Her heart stopped. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Her trembling hand reached behind her for the doorknob, but he blocked her path. "Don't," he said darkly. "You scream, and you'll be out of here before sunrise." Amara's chest heaved. "My husband," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Your husband?" Collins scoffed, laughing. "What's he going to do? Wash dishes for you?" "Please." You people are all talk. But he didn't know, not yet, that the air outside that bathroom was already thick with danger. At the far end of the dining hall, Dante Morelli slowly rose from his seat. The men sitting around him, all dressed in black froze. They knew that look. It wasn't anger. It was the kind of silence that came right before a storm tore the city apart. "Luca," Dante said calmly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, boss." "Where did he take her?" Luca's jaw tightened. "The staff bathroom, sir." Dante's hand brushed his wedding ring, a small gold band Amara had given him when they were broke. Long before the name Morelli made men tremble. "She asked me to stay away from her work," he he murmured. She wanted to earn honest money. His voice hardened. But honest doesn't mean she has to be treated like filth. The manager's muffled voice echoed faintly down the hall. Dante could hear it even over the music. His knuckles cracked as he flexed his hands. "Lock the doors," he said quietly. The men obeyed instantly, moving like shadows. The pianist stopped playing mid-note, his hands trembling. As Dante walked toward the back hallway, every step echoed like thunder. Guests turned, whispering, sensing something wrong. And by the time he reached the corridor, the soft laughter from inside the bathroom was replaced by Amara's terrified sob. He placed his hand on the door handle and pushed. The door swung open with a crash. The door slammed open so hard it struck the wall and echoed through the hallway. Mr. Collins froze. His hand, still hovering near Amara's arm, stopped midair. The color drained from his face as the tall man in the black suit stepped inside, silent, cold, and terrifyingly calm. Dante Morelli didn't need to raise his voice. His presence alone made the air heavy. His eyes, dark as midnight, scanned the room once. First at Amara, her tear-streaked face, then at the man who dared touch her. "Step away," Dante said softly. Mr. Collins blinked, confused, then tried to straighten himself. "Sir, this is a staff area. You can't just—" He didn't finish the sentence, because Dante took one more step forward, slow, deliberate, and the look in his eyes said, "Run if you value your life." I said. Dante's tone dropped to a whisper, lethal and steady. "Step away." Mr. Collins hesitated, but pride was a dangerous thing. "You don't know who I am," he spat. "I managed this entire—" And then, quicker than anyone could see, Dante grabbed him by the collar and slammed him against the mirror. The glass cracked. Shards scattered across the floor. Amara gasped. The manager's breath came out in short, panicked bursts as Dante leaned close, his voice like ice. "You put your hands on my wife," he said, almost tenderly, the kind of tone that chilled the blood more than shouting ever could. "You dragged her in here. You spoke to her like she was nothing." I didn't know," Colin stammered, choking. "That," Dante hissed, tightening his grip, "is the point? You should have known that a woman's dignity is not yours to touch." He let go, not out of mercy, but because he wanted the man to feel the weight of what came next. Colin stumbled, gasping, holding his neck, too stunned to move. Dante turned to Amara. His entire expression softened instantly. He cupped her face gently. "Did he hurt you?" Amara shook her head, tears falling fast. "No, but he scared me." Dante's jaw clenched. "Look at me." She met his eyes, trembling. "You're safe now," he said quietly. She nodded, but her lips quivered. "You promised. No violence. You said you'd changed." Dante's gaze darkened, but there was pain in it, not anger. "I did change," he whispered. "For you." "But tonight—" He looked toward Collins, who was crawling toward the door. "Tonight he tried to take away the only thing that made me human." Before Collins could reach the handle, two of Dante's men appeared in the doorway. Their faces were blank, their movements precise. "Boss?" Luca asked. "Take him outside," Dante said softly. "No!" Collins screamed. "Wait, please." But Luca and another man grabbed him by the arms and dragged him out into the hallway. His voice faded into frantic pleading as the sound of footsteps echoed away. Amara clutched Dante's sleeve. "What are you going to do to him?" Dante looked at her, calm again, too calm. "Whatever makes sure," he said. "He never forgets this night." He wrapped his coat around her shoulders and guided her out, shielding her from the curious, terrified stares of guests. In the dining hall, every whisper died when they saw the man walking beside her, the same man who owned half the city's silence. Outside the restaurant, the rain had turned into a downpour. Thunder cracked across the sky as if the heavens themselves had taken sides. Two black cars stood waiting by the curb. Their engines purred softly, like beasts caged but ready to strike. Luca and the men dragged Mr. Collins out of the back door, his expensive white shirt now soaked and stained. He tried to resist, but one sharp shove sent him sprawling into the muddy street. "Please," he cried, coughing, his voice trembling. "You don't understand. I didn't do anything." Luca said nothing. He simply stepped aside, because the only voice that mattered was approaching from behind him. Dante Morelli stepped into the rain, his black coat whipped in the wind. his polished shoes glinting beneath the lightning. He looked almost calm, too calm. That was the part that terrified everyone who knew him. Dante walked slowly toward Collins, every step deliberate, measured, dangerous. When he finally stopped in front of him, he spoke so softly that even the rain seemed to hush. Comma. Do you know who I am? Collins shook his head quickly. I don't care who you are. You can't just... Dante smiled faintly, the kind of smile that made men pray. People say that until they do care, he said quietly. Until they realize it's too late. He crouched down, meeting Collins's eyes. You touched my wife, he said, each word sharp and slow. You dragged her into a room like she was trash. Tell me, manager, what kind of man does that? Collins swallowed hard. I didn't know she didn't need to be mine for you to treat her with respect. Dante's voice turned cold. But you made her cry. And that I can't forgive. He stood, motioning to Luca. Give me your phone. Luca handed him the device silently. Dante tossed it to Collins. Call your boss, Dante ordered. Tell him you're resigning tonight. Tell him why. Collins stared at the phone as if it were a weapon. You'll let me go? That depends, Dante said, stepping closer until their faces were inches apart. On whether you understand what you've done. Collins's hands shook as he dialed. His voice cracked as he spoke. Mr. Reeves, it's me. I'm resigning. Effective immediately. I made a mistake. Dante listened in silence, the rain sliding down his face like tears he didn't have time to shed. When Collins hung up, Dante nodded once to Luca. Take his keys. Empty his locker. I don't ever want to see his face again. Luca obeyed. Collins sagged in relief. Thank you, he whispered, breathless. Thank you for letting me live. Dante paused, his back still turned. Don't thank me, he said quietly. Thank her. He glanced at Amara, who stood beneath the restaurant's awning, watching, pale, shaken, her hands gripping his coat around her shoulders. Her eyes met his. For a moment, all the rage in him. He walked back toward her, every muscle tight with the effort of restraint. When he reached her, he took her trembling hand. Let's go home, he murmured. But before they could leave, Amara whispered, Dante, what if he tells someone? What if they find out who you are? Dante looked up at the dark sky. Let them, he said. Because tonight they'll all learn something. Learn what? She asked softly. He turned to her, the rain now a curtain between them and the world. That even a devil, he said, his voice breaking, can have something wholly worth protecting. The city lights blurred through the car window as they drove home. Amara sat silently beside Dante, wrapped in his black coat, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The hum of the engine filled the space between them, heavy, unspoken, and aching. Dante didn't speak. His jaw was locked, his eyes on the rain-slicked road. Every time he thought of Colin's hand on her wrist, something dark coiled tighter inside him. Amara finally broke the silence. You scared everyone back there, she whispered. He glanced at her. Did I scare you? She hesitated, looking down. A little. Dante's grip on the steering wheel loosened. Pain flickered through his expression. I told you, she said softly, I wanted a normal life. A place where no one whispers your name like a threat. I tried, Dante murmured, his voice barely audible. You know I did? She turned to him, eyes glistening. You promised, Dante. You said you left that world behind. He parked the car in front of their house, a modest brick home tucked away on a quiet street. No guards, no limousines. Just a family trying to live like everyone else. Dante turned off the engine. I did leave it, he said. But the world doesn't leave you, Amara, especially when it knows who you are. She stared at him, her throat tight. And what are you now? He looked down at his wedding ring, the small gold band she'd bought from a thrift shop when they were too poor to afford anything else. I'm a husband, he said quietly. That's all I want to be. Tears welled up in her eyes. She touched his cheek gently. Then be that man, Dante. Don't let anger drag you back. He covered her hand with his own, pressing it against his skin as if trying to hold on to something pure. I can't let anyone hurt you, he said. Not again. Amara looked away, her voice trembling. You mean Like before, Dante's breath caught. Don't, he said softly. Don't go back there. But the memories came anyway, the night 2 years ago, when a rival gang had broken into their apartment searching for Dante, and Amara had almost lost her life trying to protect their newborn daughter. The sound of gunfire, the blood on her shoulder, the way Dante had held her as she faded in and out of consciousness. That night had changed him. He'd walked away from the Mafia, sold his businesses, vanished into silence. All for her. And now, one man's cruelty had dragged him back toward the darkness he'd sworn to leave. Dante reached out, brushing a tear from her cheek. I'll fix this, he whispered. Amara's voice broke. You can't fix the world. Dante, you can only choose what kind of man you'll be in it. He looked into her eyes, searching for forgiveness. But before he could answer, a shadow moved across the street. A dark sedan parked under the flickering streetlight. Luca's voice crackled through the earpiece hidden in Dante's coat pocket. Boss, we have a problem. Dante's head snapped up. What kind of problem? A pause. Then, the manager. He's gone. Someone took him. Amara's heart skipped. Gone? What do you mean gone? Luca's voice was grim. His car's still here, but he's not. Someone got to him before we could. Dante's expression hardened, all warmth vanishing from his face. He stepped out of the car, the rain hitting his shoulders again. Find him, he said, his voice dark and steady. Because whoever took him just declared war. The rain hadn't stopped. It fell harder, colder, like the city itself was washing away a secret. Dante stood under the streetlight, his coat drenched, his eyes fixed on the dark sedan across the road where Luca waited. Amara stood on the porch, her arms wrapped tightly around herself, watching him, half afraid of the world, half afraid of what her husband might do next. Luca stepped out of the car, rain dripping from his hair. We searched everywhere, he said quietly. The alley, the service lane, the dumpsters. No sign of him, but he hesitated, pulling out a folded piece of paper. We found this in his pocket before he disappeared. Dante took it. The paper was soaked, but a single symbol was still visible, a black serpent coiled around a rose. Dante froze. His entire body went still. Boss? Luca asked carefully. Dante stared at the symbol, the color draining from his face. That's not just a mark, he said slowly. It's a message. Luca frowned. You know who it belongs to? Dante nodded once. The serpents. They're back. Luca's expression darkened. I thought they were wiped out years ago. So did I, Dante muttered. He looked toward the shadows at the end of the street. But if they've taken Collins, it's not because they care about him. It's because they know he touched my wife. They want to use him to get to me. Why now? Luca asked. Dante's eyes hardened. Because someone told them where I was. Amara stepped forward, her voice trembling. Dante, who are the serpents? He turned to her, his voice low. They were my enemies. A rival family that lost everything after the war. I spared their leader once, a man named Victor Halle. He swore revenge. Her heart pounded. So he's the one who took Collins? Dante nodded grimly. He's making a statement. He wants me to come for him. Amara's voice broke. Then don't, please, let the police... He shook his head. The police can't touch them. They own half of them. And if Victor knows where you live? He didn't finish the sentence. His hand trembled slightly, something Amara had never seen before. She stepped closer, touching his chest. You can't fight him again. Dante, you promised our daughter you'd never go back to that life. His eyes softened for a heartbeat, but then Luca's phone buzzed sharply. He answered, listening, then his face turned pale. Boss, we just got footage from the restaurant's back alley camera. Dante's head snapped toward him. Show me. Luca held up the screen. The grainy image showed two men in dark coats dragging Collins into a van. On the van's back door, the same serpent symbol. But that wasn't what froze Dante's blood. It was the third figure standing beside the van, watching, calm, hands in pockets. A woman, tall, blonde, eyes hidden behind black glasses. Luca zoomed in. Who is she? Dante's breath hitched. Her name's Isabel Halle, he said slowly. Victor's sister. The one who swore she'd destroy everything I love? He turned toward Amara, his heart pounding with dread. "She's not after me," he whispered. "She's after you." Amara's voice cracked. "Me? Why?" Dante looked away, guilt flickering in his eyes. "Because years ago," he said, "I didn't just destroy their family. I destroyed hers." The wind howled through the rain, and in that moment Amara realized this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about blood. 3 miles away, in a dimly lit warehouse on the edge of the river, the sound of rain mingled with something far colder, laughter. Not loud, not joyous, but soft, controlled, and cruel. Isabelle Hallé sat on a leather chair, her legs crossed, a cigarette burning slowly between her fingers. The smoke curled upward, dancing in the light of a single hanging bulb. Across from her, Mr. Collins knelt on the floor, bound and shaking. His once white shirt was streaked with dirt and blood. "Please," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "I don't even know who you are. They made me quit my job, Isabel tilted her head, eyes cold as steel. "You don't know who I am?" She smiled faintly, the kind of smile that made men wish they'd never spoken. "Well, let me help you remember. You were working at Crescent Looks tonight, weren't you?" Collins nodded rapidly. Yes, I swear I didn't mean anything. You grabbed a woman," Isabel interrupted. "A waitress," her tone sharpened like a blade. "A woman named Amara Morelli." Collins froze. "Yes, I didn't know who she was. Her husband, he's a monster." "Monster," Isabel repeated, almost tasting the word. "That's the one thing you and I agree on." She stood up slowly, heels clicking against the concrete. "Dante Morelli took everything from my family. My brother, my father, our name." Her eyes darkened. "Now he'll lose what he loves most." She leaned down until her face was inches from Collins's. "You see, Mr. Collins, I needed someone to start the fire. Someone stupid enough to touch her, so Dante would come after you. And you," she smiled wickedly. "Oh, we're perfect." Collins's voice broke. "You set me up?" "Oh, don't act surprised," Isabel said lightly. "You humiliated her, dragged her like she was nothing. You made it easy for me?" She straightened and nodded to one of her men. "Get the camera." 2 men wheeled in a small tripod with a blinking red light. Isabel crouched in front of Collins again. "Now, you're going to record a message for Dante. Tell him where to find you. Tell him to come alone." "No, please," Collins begged. "He'll kill me." Isabel's smile widened. "That's the point." The man behind the camera hit record. Isabel's voice turned calm, precise. "Now say it," she whispered. Collins trembled. "To Dante? If you want your wife safe, you'll come to the old river docks alone." He swallowed hard, tears mixing with rainwater. "Please, just don't hurt her," Isabel chuckled. "Oh, don't worry. We won't hurt her. We'll just show her who her husband really is." She stood up and signaled to her men. "Send it to him." Within minutes, the video was already on its way. A message meant to shatter the peace Dante had built. Back at the Morelli home, Dante sat at the edge of the bed, staring at his phone. The screen lit up with a new message, no name, just a video file. He pressed play. The screen showed Collins, beaten, crying, begging, and then Isabel's voice echoed through the speaker. "Come alone, Dante. Bring no men, no guns. You have 1 hour. If you don't come..." She leaned into the frame, her blue eyes glinting like ice. "We'll send your wife back to you, piece by piece." The video ended. Silence filled the room. Amara watched him, her face pale. Who was that woman? Dante's grip tightened around the phone until his knuckles turned white. "Her name," he said through clenched teeth, "is Isabelle Hallé." Amara stepped closer. "What is she going to do?" He looked up, eyes burning with fury and fear. "She's going to make me choose," he said. "Between peace and you?" The rain had slowed to a mist by the time Dante began packing his gun. Each click of the metal, each slow motion of his hands, echoed through the small bedroom like the ticking of a countdown clock. Amara stood by the door, clutching the frame. Her eyes were red, her breath unsteady. "You can't go," she whispered. Dante didn't answer. He simply slid the gun into his holster, checked the magazine, and zipped his black jacket. "You promised," she said louder this time, her voice breaking. You promised you'd never touch a weapon again. He stopped, just for a heartbeat. Then, quietly, I promised I'd never kill again, Amara, but I never promised I wouldn't protect you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You think this will protect me? She's baiting you. She wants you to come. Don't you see it? He looked up at her, eyes dark, filled with something deeper than anger. I know, he said softly. But if I don't go, she come here. And when Isabel comes, she doesn't knock. He took a deep breath, then walked toward her. She tried to block the doorway, trembling. Please, Dante, she whispered. You said you were done being the devil. He brushed a strand of wet hair from her face. I was, he murmured. Until someone tried to drag my angel into hell? Her chest heaved, her words barely audible. If you go, you might not come back. He smiled faintly, a broken, weary smile. Then at least you'll know I died trying to keep my word. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wedding ring. For a moment, he looked at it in silence, the tiny gold band now scratched from years of wear. Then he pressed it into her palm. Keep it, he said softly. If I don't make it back, tell our daughter her father kept his promise. He protected her mother. Amara shook her head violently. Don't say that. Don't talk like that. He leaned in and kissed her forehead gently. Amara, he whispered, you made me human again. But I was born in the dark. And tonight I have to walk back into it. Her sob caught in her throat as he stepped back. Please, she said, reaching for him. Let someone else handle it. Let Luca. He shook his head. This isn't a war for soldiers. This is personal. She looked at him, the man who had once been the most feared name in the city, now just a husband trying to hold together the fragments of a life. He built on love and lies. Then promise me one thing, she whispered. He turned, waiting. No matter what happens, come back to me. Dante's jaw tightened. He reached out, cupped her face, and said quietly, I'll always come back to you. He kissed her once, slow, deep, desperate, then turned and walked out into the night. Amara ran to the window as his car disappeared into the rain, its headlights swallowed by the fog. Behind her, the silence of the house felt heavier than ever. She pressed the ring to her chest, whispering a prayer through her tears. Outside, thunder rolled again, distant but growing closer, and somewhere by the river docks, a woman in black smiled as her trap tightened. The river docks were silent. Fog curled low across the water, swallowing the world in white. Only the dim glow of rusted lamps lit the path to the warehouse, the same one where Isabel Halle waited, calm as a queen awaiting her prey. Dante's car stopped a few meters away. The headlights cut through the mist, illuminating the chained doors. He stepped out slowly, rain dripping from his coat, his footsteps echoing against the wet concrete. He came alone, just as she'd asked. Inside, Isabel's men watched from the shadows, rifles ready. From the balcony above, Isabel smiled. Right on time, she murmured. The doors groaned open as Dante pushed through. The smell of metal, oil, and blood filled the air. Collins hung by his wrist near the center, still alive, barely. Dante Morelli? Isabel's voice floated through the warehouse, smooth and poisonous. The legend himself. I was starting to think you'd lost your edge. Dante's eyes found her. She was standing under a broken skylight, moonlight brushing her pale face, her blonde hair slicked back like silk. Let him go, he said coldly. She laughed softly. You always start with mercy. How noble. She walked down the iron stairs, every step deliberate. You don't recognize me, do you? I do, Dante said. Victor's sister. You were there the night your brother came for me. And you killed him, she spat. Her calm cracked for the first time. You put 2 bullets in his chest while he begged for his life. And then you burned everything we had. Dante's jaw tightened. Your brother killed my men. He would have killed me. And now you understand my pain, Isabel whispered. Because now it's my turn. She snapped her fingers. 2 men dragged Collins forward and threw him at Dante's feet. Here, she said. The man who touched your wife. The spark that brought you back into my world. Go ahead, finish him. Be the monster you've always been. Dante looked down at Collins, trembling, bleeding, barely conscious. I'm not your monster anymore, he said quietly. Isabel's smile faded. Then you've already lost. She raised her gun, aiming straight at him. Because mercy, Dante, is what gets men like you killed. In one motion, Dante drew his weapon. 2 gunshots split the night, one from Isabel's gun, one from his. The echo rolled across the docks like thunder. For a second, no one moved. Then Isabel looked down, her shoulder bleeding. She had missed. Dante lowered his gun. "You should have stayed gone," he said, but she laughed, even as blood dripped down her arm. "Oh, I'm not finished." She gestured toward the far end of the warehouse. The lights flickered and a screen came alive. Amara's face appeared on the feed, sitting in their home, terrified, surrounded by 2 masked men. Dante's heart stopped. "No. You didn't think I'd leave her unguarded, did you?" Isabel taunted. "While you came running to me, my men went for what really matters." He raised his gun again, rage consuming him. "If you touch her, too late," Isabel whispered. "By now they're already inside?" Dante turned, fury and panic tearing through him. He ran toward the exit, but Isabel's final words followed him into the storm. "Run home, Dante. Run fast. Because tonight you'll lose what I lost." He burst through the doors into the rain, tires screeching as he sped toward home. Every second felt like eternity. His mind raced with one thought: please, let me not be too late. The city blurred past. The rain turned into a roar. And when he finally turned into his street, the sight waiting for him made his blood run cold. Flames, his house burning. The night sky glowed orange as fire devoured everything. Dante slammed the brakes, stumbled out of the car, and ran, his boots splashing through puddles of ash and smoke. "Amara!" He screamed. His voice cracked against the roar of the flames. The roof was collapsing. Windows shattered one by one, spewing sparks into the storm. He pushed through the front door, ignoring the heat clawing at his skin. Inside, the air was thick with smoke, choking, blinding. He covered his mouth with his sleeve and called again, "Amara? Answer me!" A faint sound came from upstairs, a cough. Weak, desperate. He ran up, taking 2 steps at a time, until he reached their bedroom. The sight made his heart stop. Amara was on the floor, her ankle trapped under a fallen beam. Her dress was torn, her hands blistered, but her eyes, those soft, brown eyes, still found him. "Dante!" she whispered, barely breathing. He dropped beside her, trying to lift the beam. It wouldn't move. The fire hissed closer, the wallpaper curling into black smoke. "Hold on," he said, straining, coughing hard. "I'll get you out." Her trembling hand touched his cheek. "You shouldn't have come." "Don't you dare say that!" he shouted, pulling with all his strength. His arms burned, his lungs screamed for air, but he wouldn't stop. The beam shifted slightly, enough for him to free her leg. He lifted her in his arms, stumbling toward the stairs. Halfway down, a deafening crash shook the house. The ceiling began to fall. Flames wrapped around the railing, cutting off their path. They were trapped. He turned back toward the hallway window. "Hold on to me," he shouted. Amara clung to him as he kicked the glass open and jumped. Crashing through into the rain below .comma, they hit the wet ground hard, Dante twisting to shield her. He groaned, feeling pain slice through his ribs, but she was alive, coughing, gasping, crying. Firefighter sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. He held her close, his body trembling from exhaustion. "You're safe," he whispered, pressing his forehead against hers. "I've got you." But Amara's eyes filled with tears, not from fear, but from sorrow. "Dante," she said softly. "I saw them. Before the fire. One of Isabel's men. He left something behind." He frowned. "What?" She pointed weakly to the ground near the porch, a small metal box half buried in the mud. Dante crawled toward it, opened the lid, and froze. Inside was a flash drive and a note. The note read, "The truth you buried was never yours to keep." His hands trembled as he plugged the drive into his car's screen. A video flickered on. It showed a younger Dante standing in a dark room surrounded by blood. And in the corner, holding a baby, was Isabel. The recording zoomed in on the child's face. A little girl, with Amara's eyes. Dante's breath caught, "No." Isabel's voice filled the speakers. "You think you stole my life, Dante, but you only stole your own child." The screen went black. Amara stared at him, her tears mixing with rain. "What does she mean?" Dante couldn't answer. His mind raced through memories. The night he found Amara in that orphanage fire. The baby they thought had died. It couldn't be. It shouldn't be. He turned toward the flames one last time. The home that had burned every secret he'd ever buried. In the distance, Isabel stood under a black umbrella, watching. Her shoulder was bandaged, her lips curved into a cruel smile. The wind carried her words faintly across the rain. Now you finally know what it feels like to lose everything you love. And then she was gone, disappearing into the mist. Dante sank to his knees beside Amara, holding her close as sirens surrounded them. The world blurred into rain, fire, and heartbreak. He whispered, voice trembling. I'll find her, Amara. I swear to you, I'll bring our daughter home. Her fingers brushed his cheek one last time. Just don't lose yourself again, she whispered. Then her hand went still. The rain kept falling, washing blood and ashes into the street. Dante held her tightly, his scream lost in the storm. And as dawn broke, the once feared Mafia boss sat alone in the ruins of his life, a man who had everything and lost it to the flames of his past.